On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very special treat. He's a former professional baseball legend, best known for his time on my New York Mets. He made his debut in 1984, bursting on the scene, where he instantly became one of the most talented players in the sport. At just 19 years old, he won Rookie of the Year and was elected as an All-Star, no big deal. He went on to win the highest honor as a baseball pitcher, the NL Cy Young Award in 1985, while achieving the historic Triple Crown with most wins, lowest ERA, and a staggering 268 strikeouts with 16 complete games. He's a multiple-time World Series champion and pitched a no-hitter with the New York Yankees. He's experienced his share of adversity and has fought back an abundance of times out of dark seasons to inspire others that they could do the same. He's just a juggernaut in all facets of life and a larger-than-life legend. Please welcome the authentic, unbelievably talented, iconic champion and mentally tough and battle-tested, the dynamic Doc Gooden. How you doing, Doc?
Good. Everything's well. Thanks for having me. Things are great. I'm here in Columbia, Maryland, visiting my kids. I have a 12-year-old daughter here and a 17-year-old son that plays high school football, so I'm here to watch this game tonight.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you and I hit it off right out the gate. We probably could have talked for a couple hours before we hit record, but I want to say some juicy stuff for the conversation. For the audience listening, in case you're not familiar with Doc, go do a deep dive, check out his career, check out his social media, see all the amazing things that he's about. What I think is most valuable today is we just have an unbelievable conversation. Before we dive in, we're going to get a little weird. You ready for me, Doc?
Yes, sir.
Doc, what is your superpower?
My superpower is just being myself and just, what I try to do? My dad taught me when I was very young. He told me, what good is it to have a life if you can't inspire another's life? So every day, my goal is to try to put a smile on a stranger's face. I think that's my superpower.
Yeah, and you have one on my face right now. And for a couple million listening to this, I imagine that's going to be the same. This is awesome. So much love and respect for you. And there's so many different places that we could take this conversation, and we'll jump around a little bit. But I have to ask you right at the gate, where did the nickname Doc come from?
Actually, it came from when I was a kid. My dad had a good friend that was a doctor. He was a great doctor, and I used to love watching him do his autopsies. Don't ask me why. I couldn't watch it today. So I used to go with him all the time when he was doing autopsies. And so my dad always say, he's going to be a doctor. He's not going to be a baseball player. My dad was a diehard baseball fan growing up in Tampa area. And back then, you only had the one game a week on Saturdays, but we got all the Braves games on the radio. So we'll sit and watch the game. So every Little League game, for some reason, my dad and his friend, they'll have a couple of drinks and they watch the game. But when I would get two strikes on the batter, my dad's friend, who was the doctor, would say, "Come on, Doc, operate on him, Doc. You have another patient, Doc." And the local newspaper was there, and they just stuck with it. They wrote the story about calling me Doc. And then my teammates started teasing me, calling me Doc, and just kind of stuck with me. And once you get drafted with a professional team, everybody has a nickname. And they wanted to call me Goody, and I said Goody didn't sound right. So I said, let's just stick with Doc. That's what they call me back home. They kind of carried into the big leagues, and then with the strikeouts, they added the K. So that's how I became Doc, and then Dr. K.
Hell yeah. That's gripping. What an awesome story. And you mentioned when you just got into the big leagues, they all got nicknames. You entered at such a young age. In fact, I believe in Major Leagues camp in 1984, you didn't even realize that you were going to make the team that year, right? That's
true. I got invited to camp as a non-roster player. And the only reason that happened was because David Johnson was a AAA manager the previous year. And I was in A-ball. I got called to AAA for the playoffs in the World Series, and I pitched well. And he told me, he goes, wherever I managed to follow me the next year, you're going to be on my team. George Bamber resigned. David got the job. I get a call in March that I'm invited to camp. And it was funny. I was like a little kid. Every time I would pitch in spring training, the media would say, how do you feel? The front office thinks you probably should go to AA or AAA because of your age. I would run into David's office and say, David, he said I'm going to AA or AAA. He said, don't worry, let him talk. You're going to make the team. I didn't find out till the last day of spring training that I actually made the team. But it was great. And then we just took it from there.
Yeah, hell yeah. I believe you were 19.
Yes.
And going into that year, the Mets really haven't been great. What type of pressure did you feel at that moment?
At that moment, my dad told me, he goes, just pitch the way you can pitch. Don't pay attention to the names on the back of the jerseys. Easier said than done when you're facing a Pete Rose, Mike Schmidt, Dale Murphy, and those guys. But having a veteran guys on the team like Mike Torres, who was one of my mentors, and Keith Hernandez, who was like a pitching coach on the field, tell me pretty much how to face hitters, the first time around to like after the All-Star break. And I kind of learned my way through the league a little bit. But it was some pressure, but not as much because I felt like a fan, just happy to be on the team. Couldn't wait to get home to call my friends and tell them who I faced that night. But I didn't feel like I really truly belonged until probably after the All-Star break.
That's awesome. And Doc, I'm a fan, so it wasn't really too hard to do homework for this, but correct me if I'm wrong. April 7th in Houston, you make your first start, and you were super nervous that you didn't even take the bus. Is that accurate?
That's true. You know, the thing about it, the Mets was kind enough to fly my parents to Houston. We had lunch that day, and then the bus wasn't until 5 o'clock, and I couldn't wait for the bus. And I asked it at the front desk, how far is the Astrodome? I've never been there before. It says about 3 miles. So she showed me the map, walked to the ballpark, get to the Astrodome. Don't know how to get in. It's an 8-foot fence. I climbed the fence. True story. Climbed the fence. Security guards there. They come over. Hey, kid, where you going? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm Dwight Gooden. I'm pitching tonight. I had to show them ID. Luckily, we had our trainers there that night, and the trainers came out and get me and take me in. But that was the start of my first game, my first career.
That's awesome. And also, like a minute or two ago, you mentioned the All-Star game, the first one. What was the vibe and the energy like for that?
Oh, that was crazy. You know, the thing that was most amazing about the All-Star game, being interviewed by Howard Cosell. As a kid, all I remember was Howard Cosell doing football and talking to Muhammad Ali. Getting interviewed by him and being in the same clubhouse with Nolan Ryan, who was my childhood idol. And hearing Nolan tell me he couldn't wait every fifth day to watch me pitch if he wasn't pitching. And it was just an awe. It was just surreal. And then get an opportunity to pitch on national TV and have success and pitch to Gary Carter, who was my catcher. I mean, all those are just dreams come true. And that's why when I talk to kids, I tell them every day, follow your dreams. You never know. Because I was that kid once and it came true. You just never know. But it was surreal.
Yeah, and you were saying to me before we went on air when we were chatting about leaving Wall Street and doing this, and you were just like all the blessings and so forth. It's so true. It's so impressive to watch how you started your career like shot out of a cannon. And if that wasn't good enough, the next year in '85 was even more special. An anonymous Cy Young. How epic was that year? And also, like, how present were you each and every start?
Oh, that was crazy. You know, the thing was having Gary Carter, my catcher, like you mentioned at the All-Star game in '84, and Gary goes after the 3 strikeouts, he goes, wouldn't this be nice to do it every 5th day? Not knowing I was going to trade for Gary that November. And when I got to meet Gary in spring training that March, we hit it off the bat right away. And I mean, everything just fell in place. And Gary demanded the best out of me every single game, every single start. He didn't care if he was facing the number 3 hitter or the number 9 hitter. He wanted me to totally dominate. So he played a big part. In between starts, my pitching coach, Mel Stoudemire, would challenge me every start to get better. He didn't want me just to be happy with where I was at. So every game, even if I was 8-0 and just pitched a shutout, he will find something to work on every single start. The crowd started getting bigger. The media attention started getting bigger. I was aware of that. I accepted the challenge. Not that I disrespected opposing teams or anything like that. But I just felt like the nights that I pitched, that was like my show. And especially it was at Shea Stadium. And there's no better feeling than having the team that I had behind me and the guys I had on my team, and especially having Gary Carter as a catcher, played a big role in that. Got all the confidence out of me. And once the opposing team scored a couple runs, to me, it didn't matter once we scored a couple runs, it didn't matter if we scored any more runs. I just want to be out on the mound that particular night because every 5th day, being a starting pitcher, you have to wait between starts. So I wanted the ball every time I can get it. And Gary played a big part of my success I had that year, him and Mel Stoudemire.
Hell yeah, and I absolutely agree. It's crazy, Doc. And I wanted to ask you, like, how come pitchers these days, like, they never really have complete games? When back in the day, you were doing it like, it was the norm. But nowadays, I feel like they kind of baby the pitchers. Why is that, you think?
Oh, no doubt. It's crazy that you said because in '85, I was 20 years old. Not to blow smoke on my own horn, but I had 16 complete games. I had 16 complete games out of 35 starts. And plus that year, I had 4 games where I pitched 9 shutout innings, got no decisions. But now I don't really blame the pitchers. It's more so the system that, baseball is like a copycat league. When one team has success doing something, they all do it. So they're bringing these pitchers up from the minor leagues or preparing them to throw 100 pitches, or they don't want them facing the lineup the 3rd time around. So to me, it's a big difference throwing 100 pitches in 3 innings opposed to 100 pitches in 7 innings. And so, and plus now everything's about velocity and spin rate. They're not looking at mechanics and the way pitchers are setting hitters up. You take like a Greg Maddux or Tom Glavine, they wouldn't even look at these guys today because their velocity is not, 98, 99. It's not sexy. But these guys are, top pitchers. And so these pitchers are throwing harder, but they're all breaking down and they're throwing less. Like you mentioned earlier, they're only going, 5, 6 innings. So it's a totally different ball game now. But I blame the teams, not necessarily the pitchers.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree with that. Also, when you were pitching, the fans started hanging those Ks out there while you were striking guys out. Did you realize what that meant at first?
Not at the beginning, not really. I was naive to a lot of it. I was just living a dream, my first couple of years. And then the trainers, we had this trainer, Steve Garland, the head trainer. He used to keep me posed on things. He'll let me know when I'm getting close to breaking somebody's record or doing something special. And then I started noticing the Ks up in the corner because the guys running around the Ks. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't admit it when I was playing, but now obviously that I'm not playing, I got caught up in it. I used to watch and see how many Ks I got. I wanted the 10 Ks every game, And so one thing I'll look up there, and the thing that was great was once you strike a guy out and they're passing the ball around the infielders, the third baseman was the last guy to touch the ball before I get it back. And the left field corner was with a K corner. So I always take a peek up there to see where I was at with the Ks. So I was definitely caught up into it with the fans as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. You really are such a stud. Also, I wanted to acknowledge you, Doc. You were always there for the PR and the press, good or bad games. Like, where did you cultivate that professionalism from?
You know what? I give a lot of credit to Rusty Staub. I remember my rookie year, I had a tough out, not a real bad outing, but a tough outing my rookie year. And I remember after the game, I got dressed and I showered and I left the ballpark and showed talking to the media. The next day I got to the ballpark, Rusty Staub put me in the back of the trainer's room. And he told me, he goes, if you're going to be at your locker when you pitch well, you be there when you don't pitch well. That's what it's all about. Being accountable for the good and the bad starts. You be a professional about that. You can't just be there when it's good. And from that day, he told me that. I try to always be there, even after a tough start, even if I had a tough situation off the field, just stand up and just admit it. Admit that, how the game went or whatever happens off the field and just, move on from that point.
Yeah, hell yeah. Also, I wanted to say your son, Dylan, he's on fire. How much fun is it to watch his development?
Oh, it's a lot of fun watching him. It's funny. He played baseball when he was younger. I got more nervous watching him play baseball than watching football. I guess because because he tried to pitch, and I had no control of that. But watching him play football and watching what he do and become his own man and choose his own path and watch the work that he put in and the dedication that he has towards it and doing the things he does and being a great student in the classrooms. It means a lot to me to watch that. And tonight I'm fired up already watching him. I'm already got the game face on and looking forward to him. I actually dropped him off at school this morning. I really want to talk football, but I said, no, I'm not going to get into it too much. Let me just, try to be the parent right now. But it's hard because you get caught up in the games. You want to be the fan. But I'm just proud of him, and I told him, getting a scholarship, the worst thing can happen, you get a free education. The best thing can happen, you get to live your dream and go to that next level. But the main thing is being a good kid, being respectful, getting your education, and setting a good example for your younger sister as well.
Hell yeah. And for the audience that can't see right now, Doc is lit up going to watch his kids play and so forth. And you're such a beautiful soul, brother. And I wanted to give context for the audience in case they weren't familiar with some of your background and so forth. But some of the stuff that I think is really going to hit home and add the biggest value today is some of this stuff. It's no secret that you dealt with substance abuse and your share of demons, just like all of us. I know that you missed the championship parade one time, and you speak to kids now to keep them on track, to prevent some of the mistakes that you made. What kind of lessons do you teach them, Doc?
Well, the main thing is, like you mentioned, the mess that I made, I tried to turn out the messages. And that was one of the biggest things I had missing the parade because I can't redo that. But I can learn from that. I had the opportunity, like you say, with blessings to be at the Yankees parade, but the mess parade, I couldn't be there. And when I talk to kids, I just try to tell them being cool is being honest. When I was growing up, I was brought up in a family where men don't cry, men don't hug, men don't love, you don't share emotions, you stuff everything. And those things, my deepest secrets kept me sick. So I had to really learn that stuff. Not that I blame anybody or justifying things. When I talk to kids, I talk to them about finding someone you're comfortable with to talk to that person about whatever it is, whether it's sister, brother, your parent, a teacher, whoever that is, that's not going to judge you, but you have to be honest with yourself and trust your insights and be honest with yourself. That's the main thing. We're going to make mistakes. And when you make a mistake, you admit it, you move on and try to learn from it. I think sometimes our best experience is our own experience, good or bad, but having someone you're comfortable with that you can talk to about whatever and not be judged. That's the main thing I try to teach them. And then with myself, just trying to live it every day at a time, one day at a time.
Yeah, hell yeah. And be present and mindful. I couldn't agree
Yes.
more. And it's funny, our mutual friend Strawberry was on a little while ago, and he was talking about some of his demons and so forth. And he said drugs and alcohol don't discriminate. Would you agree?
No doubt. It don't discriminate. It doesn't matter what color, no matter what you have, where you come from, your background, it don't matter. It will take you down. And with myself, I thought I was entitled to this stuff. I'm only hurting myself. But when you have a problem, addiction problem, as I have, you're hurting your family, you're hurting your loved ones, fans, everyone that's involved with you. You're bringing everybody down. So once you take care of the problem and be a man enough to admit the problem, then you can move on. But until you take care of yourself and do it for yourself, that's the only way you can move on. Like I tried doing it for my kids, tried doing it for my mom. It only took me so far. But when I got honest with myself and deep down and dealt with my problems and my issues, that's when I got better and I took care of everybody else.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I love that you just mentioned that. And look, we all have a past, right? And I know it's very important for you to turn your mess into your message, so to speak.
Yes.
And ultimately, like what qualifies you the most of anybody to be able to relay these messages and help people is because you've been through it, right?
Yes, I've been through it so many times. I mean, I've been to the top, like you mentioned. My first 3 years in the majors was I went Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, win the World Series, and the night I won the World Series turned into the worst night. Called my drug dealer, doing drugs with people I didn't know in the projects in Long Island. It would take you to the lowest of the low, and then being able to bounce back. A couple years later, pitch no hitter, and different things go back and forth. So for me, it's always been like a two-headed sword. I got to be careful when things are great and when things are bad, and just sharing with people. And then when I talk to kids, I talk baseball first to get their attention, then I switch it to life issues. Life shows up when you least expect it, and you have to be able to deal with that on a constant basis and not get caught off guard and not get too comfortable in my own skin. That's one of the things that I have to be aware of and keep my guards up for as well, and being honest with myself.
Yeah, what an awesome message, brother. I know this is going to be so valuable for the audience. I love that you said upon that. And I love where you're at in your journey. And one thing that like when I speak to you right now is I just feel like authenticity and radical humility. And also I know that you love to visit people in the hospital, such as a lot of the policemen after 9/11 and so forth. How come?
Oh, I just love that. I love giving back because when I went through my struggles, I always said that even before baseball, I was brought up with a family that's always trying to help somebody else, even though we didn't have much. I remember me and my dad sharing the same winter coat, sitting in front of the stove to keep warm. I remember that. Unfortunately, I was blessed to live my dream. Now I'm not playing anymore, so it's about giving back again. So I love going to hospitals, helping kids, try to bring them joy, even for 5 minutes, and more so helping the families who are there every day watching their kids go through what they're going through. I go to hospice for the cops that was in 9/11, different things like that. Just letting them know that I do care, and they meant a lot, and they made it possible for me to live my dream. Right now, we work with the NYPD and rehabilitation centers with different 5 boroughs with kids with addictions or kids with their parents or have addiction or incarcerated, just to try to bring them joy and let them know, don't give up before your blessing comes, because your blessing could be tomorrow. You don't know. I mean, but if you give up, you don't have a shot. Once you keep fighting, there's always that possibility to live your dream. I'm living proof. I've seen my mom shoot my dad. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen my sister get shot. So I've been through it all. But if you don't give up, you got the opportunity to get your blessings. But once you give up, you don't have that chance. And so it's easier said than done. I understand that with young kids and their backgrounds, but just trying to be there to let them know that I can relate. I know what pain looks like. I know what pain feels like, and let them know that somebody do care, and I do have an ear for them.
Hell yeah. So beautifully said, Doc. And I just wanted to ask you, how big of a component is your faith to you?
My faith is always growing. I'm doing
Same.
it. Strawberry actually is my real brother. When we play together, we share a lot of good times. But today, when we have a conversation, it's authentic. It's real. I appreciate him a lot. He's meant a lot to me and my family. Um,
Love
and he's
that.
helped me tremendously. And I have a lot of appreciation for him as well. And so I'm growing every day, man, just trying to get stronger and get better and get closer and build my relationship with my faith as well.
Same. And I love that you said that. I wanted to ask you, I heard you say somewhere that you're slightly a Cubs fan, but at heart, you're a Mets fan, right, Doc?
Yes, I'm a Mets fan, always at heart. I like the Cubs only because the fans was like, I mean, when they went to the World Series and beat Cleveland, which I love Cleveland, I played for Cleveland, I was so happy for them, but it's more so the fans. And my attachment to the Cubs was playing at Wrigley Field and seeing the passion of the fans. I remember one time we got into a brawl with the Cubs and the fans came on the field. That type of stuff, I love it. The fans are very tough on opposing pitchers, opposing players. I remember warming up before games, and they do their homework. They let you have it. They know all about your mom. They know about your dad. They know about your brothers and sisters. But I love the Cubs. I love the city. One of my favorite restaurants in Chicago. It's just something about Chicago. I
Which
just love it.
one? Because I'm going to be there in 3 weeks to run the Chicago Marathon. Which is the restaurant?
Oh, if you like Japanese food, go to Ron's of Japan. It's well for Michigan and Ontario. I mean, nothing against Benny Holland's, which all my kids love. But Ron's of Japan is my spot. I go there for my birthdays, holidays, any chance I get, I'm going to Ron's of Japan.
Understood. Doc, I want to see you do more things with the Mets. How's your relationship with them and the new ownership and so forth?
The new ownership's great. I got to go to the house for a charity event last year. I got to meet the owner, obviously, and his wife. Real good people. They really care about the fans. They care about the alumni. They're trying to do something in the organization, which is great. And soon I like to have a conversation with them and get back involved. Right now, I'm following my son around, trying to spend time with my daughter. Because my older kids, I miss a lot of these school activities, miss a lot of little stuff because of my addiction, and plus when I was playing. So just trying to be up for my younger kids and my grandkids. But once the opportunity presents itself, I'd like to get back involved some way.
Hell yeah. I love that. I want to say to you, I think you and Seaver are the two best Met pitchers ever, bar none. What do you think of a potentially healthy DeGrom and Scherzer?
Oh, man, those guys are sick, man. Those guys are beasts. I love watching they both play. Scherzer's a throwback. You know, he's going 7-8 innings every time. And DeGrom, when it's healthy, is the best in the game the last 4 years. They're fun to watch. I was at DeGrom last start, actually. So watching DeGrom pitch now, I mean, and plus I know DeGrom a little bit. He's a good friend of mine. Watching the work he puts in, hopefully he stays healthy and they bring him back. You know, I know he's going to opt out this year, become a free agent, but hopefully it gets some worked out and he's with the Mets long term. But I think if Scherzer and DeGrom is healthy in the postseason, the Mets can be very dangerous.
I agree with you 100%. You know DeGrom personally. You see him up close and personal. How nasty is he as a pitcher?
He's sick. I don't know if he's really aware of how good he is.
Really?
I only say that because when I was in my prime and had my best years, you're out having fun, you're out competing, you know, you're facing, you want to dominate. You know you're dominating, you know you're good, but you don't know how good you is until once it's all over and you look back at it. And then you get able to appreciate it more. But this guy dominates every game. When he gives up 3 runs, you think something's wrong or he's hurt. I mean, it's amazing. This guy is totally filthy. I mean, 10 strikeouts, 3 or less runs is almost guaranteed every time he takes them out. So it's fun to watch.
Yeah, really. If they can only stay healthy, it's just different. Like when the Mets are good, I'm not comparing them. It's just a different buzz with the Mets and the Yankees, with the fans. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's different. The fans are great. They both treated me real well on both sides, through my ups and downs, on and off the field. But I just think with the Met fans, like you say, when they're winning, just something about the passion of it. Not that the Yankee fans don't have that passion, but the Met fans have that passion. Maybe because in the Bronx, you know, they've won a bit more, so those fans might be a little bit spoiler. I don't know. But winning, I'm just glad both teams are winning. I think it's great for baseball when you have both New York teams playing well and winning.
Yeah, hell yeah. I agree with you 100%. Only negative I got going on is we don't have 10 hours to chat, but my intuition serves me right. It's just the beginning of the friendship. With all the cool things that you have going on now with the kids and so forth, what excites you most right now, Doc?
I think what excites me most is being accountable to my kids, being healthy and clean and sober every day so I can share what they're doing. That's the most important thing, and that's the gift that I give to myself first and from God and then to my kids. When I'm not coming to the games with bloodshot eyes, they're not calling me or texting me 4 or 5 times if I'm going to show up. They know I'm going to be there. They know they can count on me. And being accountable for my kids, that's the most important thing for me right now, and being clean.
Yeah, and I just want to say I'm so proud of you, Doc, and where you're at today. And I'm sending you all my love and strength and courage. The audience now is blowing up. I say very humbly, we have a couple million now. What's the best way for the community and the audience to support you?
I think they support me. Keep the prayers coming. I appreciate that. And if you see me or see any of my family, just speak, give them a hug, and just keep doing what we're doing. You know, let's keep being there for each other. And the best way you support me, like I said, putting a smile on a stranger's face, it goes a long way. You never know what that person's going through that particular day.
Hell yeah. And how can I personally support you, Doc?
Let's do this again. When we have more time, let's definitely do this again. You're supporting me now just about having me share my story and having the time to spend with you. That keeps me going as well. So I appreciate you as well.
Hell yeah. And hang out for a second. But what I think is so awesome, obviously we can talk for hours about your baseball and all that, but just seeing where you're at now and where you've been through, I think that just gives so much inspiration to other people that are going through some stuff. And like you said earlier on in the conversation, just to never give up. And Doc, I want you to know you're the definition of perspective, reinvention, and growth, from taking your life experience to spreading positivity and deep truths. You're a true gladiator, role model, and beacon of hope for anybody coming up today with big goals and aspirations. I could personally guarantee your best is yet to come. Keep on spreading your wings and leaving your mark on this world. So much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stopping by today and dropping these priceless nuggets, Doc.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your kindness. Good luck with the show, and I look forward to speaking to you again. Keep up the good work, brother. I appreciate you having me.
What an awesome conversation, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. Since I had, Strawberry on, we become really good friends and so forth. Let's stay connected. I'd love to support you in any way I can, Doc.
Oh, definitely. Please do. Please do. You're a good man. And I see you have a good heart as well, brother. So let's stay in contact for sure.
Thank you. But what's the best way to stay connected? Are you on social media?
I'm on social media. I'm at on Twitter. My son knows me and Instagram. But once we get off, I'll shoot you my cell number. I always have that with me, so you have it. Direct contact with me.
Okay. Yeah, I'll add you on Instagram and I'll support you there too. I'll let you know when the show's gonna drop, and we'll exchange numbers after this too.
Okay, sounds good. I look forward to that.
Thank you so much, brother. I'm so proud of you, and keep up the great work.
All right, thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me. You have a good weekend.
Doc. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. All right, okay.